Hello everybody, welcome back to another video where we take a look at the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan for the previous week. That's going to be the week of August 14th to the 20th. We've had a bit of movement on the list this week. Funny enough, a lot of the newer titles that came on last week have dropped off, except for one notable exception. And there's been some other interesting developments that we will talk about as well. So let's get right into the list. So starting at number 10 with 6,721 volumes sold. It is volume 2 of Date Alive Fragments, Date a Bullet. Now this is a brand new release this week. It is a spin-off series of the Date Alive series. And this one, it's a side story featuring Tokisake Kuromi. I'm not familiar with this series. Of course, the spin-off hasn't gotten an English release, but we haven't even gotten an English release of the actual light novel series, so I guess that's not all that surprising. Now at number 9, with 6,822 volumes sold, we have volume number 4 of Youkoso Jitsuryoku Shijou Shugi no Kyoushitsu, Classroom of the Elite. Now, this, of course, is kind of interesting because volumes 1, 2, and 3 were on the list last week, and now we're getting a higher volume, volume number 4. So I can only infer that this is happening because people are buying the early volumes, most likely, as I've stated in the previous videos, because of the anime, and now they're starting to get caught up, so now they're buying the later volumes. At number 8, with 7,152 volumes sold, we have volume number 1 of Classroom of the Elite. So the series is really hanging in there, and still a lot of new readers jumping on board. Funny enough, though, at number 7, with 7,381 volumes sold, we have volume 3 of Classroom of the Elite. So out of the first 4 volumes, only volume 2 has dropped off the list this week. And like I said, my guess is that's because those are people now that are moving on to the later volumes, volumes 3 and 4, which is why they're seeing a bump. Volume 1, I'm guessing, is still just a bunch of new readers jumping on board. Again, you know, it's funny because I haven't really seen a lot of ripplings about Classroom of the Elite, the anime making big waves online, at least not on Twitter that I have seen. Now, I don't know if maybe on Reddit or whatever, that's a little different. I don't usually, you know, troll those areas, but it's kind of funny. I mean, obviously this series is, I would say, a pretty big thing in Japan because the light novel series has done nothing but benefit from that anime since it came out. Thankfully, that's it for Classroom of the Elite, though. There's only those 3 volumes on the list this week. At number 6, with 7,843 volumes sold, we have Uchiage Hanabi, Shita kara Miru ka, Yoko kara Miru ka, which of course is fireworks. Should we see it from the side or the bottom? This is the light novel adaptation of the animated movie that just released August 18th. If you follow me on Twitter, Anime News Network posted a review of it, which I retweeted. I haven't actually read the review myself yet, but yeah, so obviously the light novel still doing quite well. Would be interesting to see, like, so I mean this list covers from the 14th to the 20th, so it covers the first 4 days before the movie released. So I'm kind of wondering how many of these volumes were sold before and after the movie came out, just to see like what kind of impact perhaps the reviews of the movie or word of mouth from people who have seen the movie is going to have on the light novel sales. It'll be interesting to see if this title still hangs in on the top 10 next week, since the movie will have been out for several days by that point. Number 5, with 8,434 volumes sold, volume 12 of Konosuba. So Konosuba, of course, still hanging in there. Very popular series. In fact, we have a couple of other popular series that I've kind of hung in there on this top 5. Because at number 4, with 9,078 volumes sold, we have the latest entry of the Monogatari series, which is Shinobu Monogatari. And this one's been on this list every single week since I started doing these videos. So that's 4 weeks now. So clearly, this series has got legs. It's sold over 89,000 volumes to date, so doing really, really well. As I've discussed before, this one, of course, we do have the English adaptation of. I'm going to leave all that information in the description down below. At number 3, we have a brand new entry with 11,254 volumes sold. This is its first week of release, and that is volume number 9 of Rokudenashi Majutsu Koshi to Akashic Records, or the Akashic Records of the Bastard Magical Instructor. Now, the manga adaptation has been licensed by 7 Seas. It is actually, I think they just releasing the first volume this month. We do not have a license for the light novels, and there has just been a 12 episode anime adaptation. It is on Crunchyroll, and from what I can read online, people saying that it adapted approximately the first 5 volumes, but as always with anime adaptations, when they have that many volumes covered, stuff was left out. So if we ever get this series, even if you've seen the anime, it'll probably be still worth it to read the entire light novel series. And for the Akashic Records, if you're not familiar with it, it is about our main character, which is Sisti. She attends a magical academy to hone her skills in the magical arts and hopes to solve the mystery of the enigmatic Sky Castle. After the retirement of her favorite teacher, the replacement, Glenn, turns out to be a tardy, lazy, seemingly incompetent bastard of an instructor. How was it that Glenn was handpicked by the best magician in the academy? At the number 2 spot this week, with 14,241 volumes released in its first week of release, we have volume 17 of Data Live. So this one, of course, we had the spin-off. It got its second volume this week as well, in at number 2. This one in at number 10, sorry. This one at number 2. And this has had 2 seasons of an anime, 22 episodes, plus 2 OVAs and a movie. From what I've been able to see, people are saying that it covers about 1 to 7, volumes 1 to 7 with the anime. It has been licensed in English by Funimation. I couldn't see it. I don't think it's streaming on Crunchyroll. I don't subscribe to Funimation's website, so I don't know if it's on there. There is a partially adapted manga adaptation, which I don't think we've released in English. Neither, of course, have the light novels been licensed in English. Now this one, if you're not familiar with the series, April 10th. Yesterday was the last day of spring vacation, so starting this morning, it was a school day. After being woken by his cute little sister, Itsuka Shido believed that it would be another start of another normal day. As for predicting the chance meeting with the girl who called herself a spirit, along with a sudden shockwave, the townscape vanished without a trace. In a corner of the street, which had now become a crater, the girl was there. Have you come to kill me too? She is the disaster that will destroy humanity, a monster of unknown origin, and a being rejected by the world. There are only 2 ways to stop this girl: annihilation and conversation. His little sister Kotori, wrapped in a military uniform, thus said to Shido, "Since it's like this, just go date her and make the spirit fall for you." What? Enter a new age of boy meets girl. So yeah, this is a harem type story, basically about a dude who has to make a bunch of girls that would otherwise destroy the world fall in love with him so they don't destroy the world. Obviously super popular series. It's, yeah, I mean, 17 volumes right in at the number 2 spot for its first week of release at the volume number 17. So pretty good staying power there. But if we're going to talk about a series that has obvious staying power, let's talk about the number 1 spot, which is with 35,669 volumes sold, so more than double the number 2 spot, and that is Mahoka Koko no Retosai, or as English audiences more commonly call it, The Irregular at Magic High School. This one, volume 23. So the 23rd volume was number 1 last week with a huge sales of like over 89,000 copies right in its first week. This week, still doubling its next closest competitor to remain at number 1. And like I said, it's a 23rd volume. So you want to talk about a dedicated fan base. Clearly, this series has got it. As I've discussed before, we do get this released from Yen on. There has been a 26-episode anime which covered volumes 1 to 7, but excluded volume 5. And you can watch that on Crunchyroll. So those are the top 10 light novels by sales for the week of August 14th to August 20th in Japan. So kind of some interesting, it's interesting to me to watch this list and see which titles have this staying power. You know, obviously the Monogatari series, this is week 2 now for Irregular being in the number 1 spot, not just staying in the top 10, but staying at number 1 and very strongly staying at number 1. It'll be interesting to see which title manages to topple it from that spot. And of course, Classroom of the Elite taking 3 spots in the top 10 this week. Volume number 1 still hanging in there pretty strong, but now volumes 3 and 4, slightly later volumes that haven't been as much on the top 10, getting in there as people pick up the series and start picking up the later volumes in the series. I'm really surprised, given the sales of these things, that we have not heard any licenses about Date Alive for so long. I mean, it is an ongoing series, clearly still very popular, very strong sales of its 17th volume in its first week of release. Classroom of the Elite, really surprised with what it's doing in Japan, that we aren't hearing murmurings of it getting picked up in English. But I do know that there is a New York Comic-Con coming up, I believe in September, or is it October? But it's coming up in the fall. And I know last year we did get a couple of announcements for light novel releases out of that convention. So maybe this year will be the same. We'll see whether any of these titles get picked up in that round. So if you love light novels, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can check out all of my light novel reviews, as well as this weekly top 10 that I do every single Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.